While Oscar Pistorius' defence will argue that enough is enough, the state will on Friday argue his 6-year sentence for murder was shockingly light and inappropriate. The Johannesburg High Court will this time be the scene of another showdown between prosecutor Gerrie Nel and advocate Barry Roux. And 7 reporter Michael Apple brings you the story.
The Blade Runner has been behind bars again since the 6th of July. Judge Thokozile Masipa was adamant in handing down her sentence that the court of public opinion would play no role. The vast majority of legal experts had expected a slightly harsher sentence, and so did the state. In applying for leave to appeal his sentence, the state argues Masipa misdirected herself and also placed too much weight on the mitigating factors as opposed to the aggravating factors. Nel also says the judge overemphasized Pistorius' personal circumstances. As a sentence, the state believes the 6 years handed down simply doesn't send a strong enough message to society as a deterrent. Nel says the administration of justice may fall into disrepute. Nel will argue that the sentence is entirely disproportionate for the crime of murder, dolus eventualis. Advocate Barry Roux, who's led Pistorius' defense since the 3rd of March 2014, will strongly challenge the state on several points. Roux will raise the fact that his client has already served a year behind bars and a further 7 months under house arrest. Roux says that when this is considered, it's a sentence of almost 8 years and not 6. He's always maintained the Paralympian showed and continues to show genuine remorse, justifying leniency from the court. Bashing the state for filing their appeal a day late, Roux says enough is enough, and that the application is not only without merit, but inappropriate. Pistorius will not be present in court, but you can bet he'll have his ear to the ground as the process to possibly have him face a harsher sentence gets underway. Michael Apple, ANN7, Johannesburg.
I don't agree that it's a lenient sentence because there are people that the state have done deals with who have murdered not even one person, who have murdered 2 people, and the state will go into a deal with such people for them to get 5 years, for them to get 3 years, for them to get suspended sentences. Oscar came out of prison, served 10 months, as per the court ruling. They pursued him. Do you know the psychological effect of a person who thinks that he is now free and he has to go back to prison to serve a longer sentence?
The MPA is most probably concerned about the message it sends out to get 6 years for murder. And I believe they have the right, of course, to apply for leave to appeal, and they have the right to test the water with the ECA. But realistically speaking, we have to remind ourselves that this is the same MPA that has granted basically a reprieve to Vleis Versace when he killed his daughter in circumstances which could easily have amounted to murder as well. So you have to ask, what is the vendetta that the state is seeking in this matter? Why are they pursuing Oscar in this matter? And I think it had to do with the fact that this was such a public trial, and the MPA was, as much as the justice system, on trial as well.
Well, let's go now live to the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria. Michael Apple is live there for us this morning. Michael, good morning to you. Just before we get into the merits, Oscar Pistorius will not be in court today. Has that impacted the interest on the case there?
Good morning to you, Peter, and to our viewers. Well, just a correction there. We are at the Johannesburg High Court, and as you correctly say, Pistorius will not be here. And yes, the media interest here is restricted to just the local TV channels, no international channels, no big names here from overseas anymore. So yes, it certainly has restricted media interest. Is the public suffering a bit of Pistorius fatigue? Has this case dragged on for just too long? If you look at social media and some of the tweets I've been getting, that certainly is the case.
Michael, let's just talk about what we can expect today. I saw in your build-up package, looking at the opposing factors here. Maybe you can just reiterate what we're expecting to hear from the state and what we're hearing to hear from the defence.
Well, the state has always maintained, since they filed that the papers, the application for leave to appeal, a day late, you will hear from the defence. But in their application for leave to appeal, they state that this is shockingly light and inappropriate. 5 years for culpable homicide, 6 years for murder dolus eventualis. This is a shockingly light and inappropriate sentence. They say it doesn't send a strong enough message to society. It is not a deterrent. They also say that the court and the judge misdirected herself on a number of principles. So the state is going to delve into those technicalities. The state also saying that that it is in the interest of society that a strong enough message is sent out with this case, that if there is public outrage that cannot be underemphasized by the court, must be taken into consideration by Judge Masipa in balancing the interests of the offender, Oscar Pistorius, the interest of the victim, Reba Steenkamp, and then the general interest of society. That is the triad of Zin, as it's known in law, the three principles that she has to balance when she comes to an appropriate sentence. So the state is going on those grounds. The defense is obviously saying, look, his 6-year sentence, as you are stating, it is not simply 6 years. He's already spent a year behind bars. He was out on correctional supervision under house arrest effectively for another 7 months. They're saying that this sentence is effectively 8 years. And they say that is not shockingly light and inappropriate for murder dolus eventualis. They're also saying that firstly, the state has filed their application for leave to appeal late, and in any case, this is without merit and is inappropriate. And they say that the state, on a number of the technical grounds, they say that the state is conflating a number of issues, very technical legal stuff, but we're going to have Nell up against Roo again for the second time now in the Johannesburg High Court, asking for leave to appeal. And Judge Masipa is once again going to be under a lot of pressure. This is the second time. Well, the first time that an appeal came to her, it was on conviction. The state was seeking murder. She had given culpable homicide. This time, and she was overruled on that one. The SCA saying, yes, this is murder. Now, it's come back to her again. The state is seeking a lengthier sentence. She's given 6 years. They said that the starting point for murder in terms of our minimum sentencing legislation is 15 years. Judge Masipa has deviated from that minimum by 9 years. They're saying that she has overemphasized Pistorius's personal circumstances, not put enough weight on the aggravating factors in this case, and just looked at the mitigating circumstances in this case and overemphasized the mitigating factors. Peter.
Michael, procedurally today, so both sides will put their case to Judge Masipa. Does she once again make a decision, and how long is that expected to take?
Yes, both. I mean, we've got the documents from both the state and the defense. They will come in with heads of argument, just a summary of what she already has. They're not expected to take all day. She will just ask the state to, as they are the applicants in this, they will go first. The defense will give a rebuttal. They'll give their opposing papers, summarize their heads of argument, and then the state may have a last bite at the cherry just to answer some of the state's rebuttals. And then that's it. I doubt Judge Masipa will rule on this today. She may take the weekend. We may be back next week, by midweek next week, by Wednesday perhaps, when she's had the weekend to think and a couple of days to apply her mind. And then she'll decide, yes, I'm going to grant leave to appeal to the state, that another court may come to a different conclusion to what she did. That is the test before her. And there needs to be not just a prospect of success, there needs to be reasonable prospect of success. So she has to almost extricate herself from her judgment and say, would another judge come to a different conclusion? If she sees that there is perhaps light at the end of the state's tunnel, then she's going to grant them that leave, and this case will ultimately then, this appeal will head to the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein. And of course, if she says, no, sorry state, I do not agree with you, then Harry Nell will go to his boss, Sean Abrahams, the National Director of Public Prosecutions at the MPA, and say, well, I believe these are the grounds we should take straight to the Supreme Court of Appeal. They've got 21 days after Judge Masipa gives her ruling to directly petition the SCA. So this is not the end of the road, I don't think.
Either way, Michael, it more than likely will end up at the SCA.
Yeah, that certainly is the case.
Michael, thanks very much. We'll catch up with you a little bit later. Michael Apple there outside the Johannesburg High Court, just on the latest on the Oscar Pistorius matter. 9 o'clock court is scheduled to start. We'll bring you those live pictures at 9 o'clock.